this video, I am going to be going over what I believe to be the best build in Elden Ring so that you don't keep dying like this. Wait, so is this build really good against all bosses? Yes, it is. It doesn't really matter if it's a boss that has annoying AoEs that's resistant to lots of things, or a boss that moves around a lot with a giant health pool, or someone that simply never seems to stop attacking at all. This build will just eliminate them. If you're wondering how you can accomplish this, well, then let me blow your mind. So, as for the stats, I am level 150 because I like PvP and co-op, and this is the meta level for that. I have 60 Vigor because that is the soft cap, 16 Mind because I do need a little bit of FP to use my spell and my Ash of War, which is going to help us out a lot in these fights. 40 Endurance because we're going to be doing a lot of blocking and a lot of shield poking, which does consume quite a bit of stamina, so you do want to make sure this is nice and high. 48 Strength because that is what is required to wield the Fingerprint Stone Shield. 20 Dexterity because I need that to wield my weapons. 12 Intelligence so that I can use this spell right here. And then 25 Arcane so that I can get a little bit more bleed and just status effect build up really on my weapons, which I will come to right now. We are wielding the Blood Anspur Rapier. The Anspur Rapier has innate Scarlet Rot buildup, and on this Anspur Rapier, which I have infused with Bleed, I do also have the Poison Mist Ash of War. And when this is activated, I am going to be doing Bleed, Poison, and Scarlet Rot buildup all on one weapon. The reason this is good is because all of these are going to do percentage damage to the boss. So it doesn't matter if you're in co-op where the host has 2 other summons, which increases the boss's health pool. It doesn't matter if you're in New Game +7. This is still going to do a very decent amount of damage to the boss's health because it's all percentages and not just base numbers. So it doesn't really matter what the boss is, they're going to die pretty quickly if you keep poking them with this. Alternatively, I also have the Cold Anspur Rapier, which does Frost buildup and then Chilling Mist to do more Frost buildup. This is going to be for bosses that can't be bled, like the Gargoyles, for example, but they can be inflicted with Frost instead. So both of these are going to be for bosses that are pretty easy to hit. Maybe their health pool isn't huge, but they do have decent health, and maybe like human-type enemies, we'll say. For bigger bosses, like the Fire Giant or the Elden Beast, we're gonna come down here to Mesmer's Soldier's Heavy Spear. I actually really like this, and the main reason we're using this is because I have the Black Flame Tornado Ash of War, which again simply does percentage damage on it when you use it. If you pair this with the Godfrey Talisman and the Shard of Alexander, you will also get much more damage on it, but I do like having my guarding abilities on me because normally I'm going to be using the Anspur Rapiers. But for bigger bosses with bigger health pools that you just want to eliminate, this is going to be very, very, very good, especially when you pair it with Shard of Alexander, Godfrey Icon, and additionally you can use the Fire Scorpion Charm if you want to. Most of the time though, when I get summoned, I do find myself facing off against humanoid type enemies, so maybe Godfrey, Hoaraloo, Radagon, all of that kind of stuff, and for that I just find the Anspur Rapier to be the best thing, and then I can just shield poke as much as I want, which is going to make all of the fights pretty simple. As for the talismans, I have the 2-headed turtle talisman. This is just always good on any build really, but especially on this one because we're going to be doing a lot of guarding and we're going to need that stamina regeneration. Great Shield Talisman, which just boosts your guarding ability, and then the Pearl Shield Talisman, which reduces all non-physical damage while guarding, which is very, very good for bosses like the Promised Consort Radahn, who does holy damage and stuff like that. It's really just not going to do that much damage to you if you're using this talisman. Like I said, if you're facing off against the Elden Beast or something, you're probably going to want to switch these out to something like this, and now you're just going to be doing loads and loads and loads of damage with this Black Flame Tornado Ash of War, especially if you charge it up. And then lastly, you can use whatever you want, really. If I put on Mesmer Soldier Spear, that actually does get me to a heavy load, so I like to switch this out for the Great Jar's Arsenal, which gets me back to a medium load. But if I'm using the Cold or Blood and Spur Rapier, I can take this off and put on Shibiri's Woe. I like this because if I'm playing in co-op and I'm helping a host with a boss, then if the boss is just always on me, that actually makes it easier for me to keep shield poking them and keep getting that status effect build up, and also it just prevents the host from dying, or it has a higher chance of preventing the host from dying, so it just makes my job easier in pretty much all aspects, and it doesn't really put me in any more danger because my job and what I'm doing is going to stay exactly the same. Alternatively, if you just want more damage, you can use Kindred of Rot's Exaltation or the Lord of Blood's Exaltation. Both of these are going to increase your attack power where either blood or rot increases in the vicinity. If you want to, you can pair these two together, and then I think that's going to be an extra 40% damage increase. So if you really want to, you can go for that, but I just like going for my shield poke. Then for the armor, I'm just wearing Rakshasa's set for an extra 4% damage, and then just some clothes that I think look cool that kind of pair well with all of the redness in my attire. As for buffs, I do have Boiled Crab and Golden Vow on. It's not really necessary to use these at all because you're probably not going to get hit, so the Boiled Crab isn't really necessarily important, but sometimes a boss will kind of do a sweeping attack and you'll get hit on the side, so it is good to have just a little bit of extra damage reduction. And then Golden Vow is just always going to be good on every single build. I can't use it right now because I don't have any FP, but this is always good to just pop on if you do have spare FP. But I wouldn't usually use this because I like using my FP for my spell, which I haven't got to yet, which is the Scholar's Shield. So using this is just going to boost your guarding ability and make it so that you take less stamina reduction when you're blocking, and it doesn't really cost much FP. And then on your weapon, as I said before, you probably just want to use that so you're inflicting 3 types of status effects at the same time. As for my Physick, I just have FP restoring ones in there. But some ones that are going to pair quite well is the consecutive attacks one, they grow stronger, the Thorny Cracked Tier. If you're shield poking on a humanoid enemy that just keeps aggroing onto you because you've got Shibiri's Woe on, this can be really powerful and you can actually make it activate quite a lot. You can also pair this with Millicent's Prothesis and the Rotten Winged Sword Insignia Talismans to do a lot more damage with consecutive attacks, so you can go for that if you want. You can also go for the Stone Barb Cracked Tier. You're going to be poking the enemies a lot, and if you break their stance, it's just going to allow you to regenerate your stamina and then go for a crit hit, which is probably going to be quite good. But I just like restoring my FP because sometimes I'll have to apply my Scholar's Shield and I want to use my Asha 4 a little bit, and I don't really like investing more cerulean flasks into that, so I just like having FP restoration on my Physick, but it's totally up to you what you want to put on that. So that is pretty much it. There isn't really a single boss I've come across that hasn't really easily been defeated by either this shield poke or by the Black Flame Tornado. One or the other is just going to absolutely delete their health bar really, really easily. Now, why I say this is the best build is because you just don't really die that much. If you're blocking, and especially if you've got the Scholar's Shield on, you're just really not going to be able to get hit that much. So there are builds that do more damage, like double seppuku, bandits, curve swords, and one of them is frost and stuff like that, or double twin blade bleed build and all of that kind of stuff. But I find that if you're not really a fantastic player that doesn't really know the boss's moveset, it's probably not going to be fantastic, and those types of things are also very weak against certain bosses that, can't bleed, for example. But with this, there really isn't any boss that you're not going to be able to beat with either one of these Anspur Rapiers or this Black Flame Tornado. Any spear, really, or halberd with Black Flame Tornado is going to be pretty okay to use as well. So yeah, there you go. That is pretty much it. If any of you have any questions about this in the comments down below, then let me know and I will try and reply to those. But that is pretty much it for the most part. Thank you so much for watching, ladies and gentlemen. That is going to be it for this video. If you liked it, leave a like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Farewell.